We should talk about the title a little bit. Like, why outlaw?
Well, I think an outlaw, for me, an outlaw, a person who has broken the law, especially one who remains at large or is a fugitive. And I think that in the world that we come from, we are definitely outlaws. We have broken the law. We are unapologetic about our values and what we believe in and what we don't believe in, and what we may believe in the future that we're not sure about right now.
Yeah.
And we remain at large. We've not been captured. Nothing has happened yet. I mean, I still think they're watching, but
Yeah.
I think that makes us outlaws. I had a conversation with somebody this past week who talked about, it kept coming up in the conversation about all the years of church people trying to kill them. And I thought, oh, you're an outlaw too. Like when you have that innate sense that they are psychologically or emotionally or spiritually trying to kill you. That's what we hear them talk about it every day on the news. They want us all to die.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I like the idea of saying,
I mean, if their response to COVID is any indication too. I mean, if you need any more of an explicit example of that. Yeah.
And I have from the beginning called them psychopathic serial killers because that's what they are. And so that's what they think their job is with all of us.
Yeah.
Is to bring us to an end, either to bring us into captivity or to death. So that's to me what the outlaw piece represents.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know we kind of toyed with, is it outsider? Is it, but I feel like outlaw, I mean, it's all the same thing, but I do really like the outlaw piece of it. And for me, it kind of has that special connection for me as a Eugene McDaniels fan. I love that Outlaw album. It's just one of my favorite albums. And yeah, it's just all about that, just being, that individual who's just not ever going to be allowed to just be without any kind of backlash.
There's always backlash
from the establishment. Yeah. There's just no, if you're going to continue to hold those thoughts and continue to be in that body, that this is your lot in life. And I do kind of feel that way,
Well, it became really clear to me, like in my little bit that I've done in the world, my teeny tiny little bit, teeny tiny. I mean, I am just, barely a speck of dust on the calendar of people who have done things. And that I was getting death threats when I came out.
Yeah.
And was advocating at that period. I went, oh, they'll kill anybody.
Yeah. Were the death threats from people you knew?
No.
Just random.
Just anonymous.
Assholes.
Yeah. Just on the internet. Probably from, Reverend D.L. Foster, who wrote me up on his little website, the Gay Christian Watch at the time.
Yeah.
And, probably from that. It probably stemmed from that, and they were just on high alert for any of us that were stirring things up. And I made the wave of their consciousness at that particular moment in time. And that little bit evoked that.
Yeah.
I just went, these are dangerous people. I'm not dangerous. They're dangerous,
right. Right. But we are dangerous to them.
To them.
We're threatening to them, especially,
theologically.
Yeah. When I think about, if we're all just existing in a marketplace of ideas, and it's, a matter of, whose ideas have the most evidence or are the strongest or the most convincing or the most persuasive. When I think about how much fundamentalist Christianity, it just hinges just on fear and fear alone. And there's not much beyond, like one of our friends was saying, like, if there's no hell, what's the point?
Yep. Yes.
When you take that away and you really just start having real conversations about, how do these ideas or these thoughts serve you and make you feel empowered or stronger or, bring you joy, help you get through your day, help you create a better world for you and all of your loved ones and just the world in general. When things start stacking up, So yeah, it's threatening. It's threatening when...
Well, which is a really interesting segue to our topic of today.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, so I'm not sure how we want to start this, but I think that it's definitely connected to Dr. Bynum, Dr. Juanita Bynum.
Are we really calling her doctor?
I am.
I'm not.
It's been several things, because you remember it was ambassador for a while. She was ambassador.
I'm calling her Juanita Bynum. And that's no disrespect. I'm just not.
Well, yeah, she got like 4 degrees at one time. Remember, it was like this momentous occasion, and she was getting like her doctorate and her master's. And her...
I mean, I just have issues with titles, period.
Same.
Like, I just don't. Even if it's from some accredited blah, I'm just not, but... What are these institutions?
So anyways,
okay, all right. So
I just wanted to at least start off by calling her by her preferred name.
That's sweet. I'm not doing that.
I renegade through and through. I renegade through and through. Oh Lord, if you only knew. Now tell me, what do I do? And if what I say is true, how could I get through to you? I don't know how to behave. I don't know how to behave. And if I don't change my ways, it might send me to my grave. But if what I say is bad, maybe we could all be saved.
So, welcome to... I can't even do the intro. All right. Welcome to Outlaws, Evidence of the Unseen, exceptional stories and conversations that weave history, religion, arts, and politics into the fabric of our greater cultural narrative. I am Ray Curenton, singer, songwriter, and producer.
Yes, I'm Tim Dillinger, historian, essayist, musician, storyteller.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about Juanita Bynum today.
We are. I'm so excited.
I know you are. You've been excited for this conversation for a while now. So just start. I want to hear what your introduction to Juanita Bynum was. Like, how did you first, how were you introduced to her?
I was, in 2 ways, and kind of simultaneous to each other. So I was living in Florida, and we were privy to one of the first T.D. Jakes appearances in our area. This was before he was doing stadiums. He was still fitting in churches. His crowd was still fitting in churches. And shortly after we had seen him for the first time at Carpenter's Home Church in Lakeland, Florida, he just erupted and became like this thing. Like, it really was overnight. I know that nothing's an overnight success or sensation.
Yeah.
Like, there's years and years that go into it. But from the time we saw him in that, couple thousand seating church.
And what time was this, like early 90s?
This would have been 90. Vicki Winans was doing the Precious Lord record. So 94, 95.
Okay.
And within 2 years, he was just huge, just a huge thing. And so this video, I'm having a little trouble with this time frame because the date on the video is 97. I feel like I knew or had No More Sheets before 97, like 96 maybe, but yeah. I could very much be rewriting.
But it could also be a reissue.
Right. By the time it got packaged in that box set. So somewhere around 96, possibly 97, since that's when it came out. I remember hearing a lot of talk about Juanita Bynum and this sermon, No More Sheets, that was just like, woo, life-changing. Oh my God. It's just everything I ever lived, everything I ever saw.
And this was from women?
Yes.
Who was saying
this was from women
Black
and
women
gay men.
And gay men. Okay, yes. And I definitely want to talk about that. But go ahead.
So, but what I remember, my memory is of being in the lobby of a hotel, gay male friend of mine was just going on and on and on about this video, and one of the other people in our circle that was not from our area said, "Oh, honey, Juanita Bynum, she's absolutely out of her mind." and and so that was like the precursor to me seeing No More Sheets.
Either you've got like she's amazing,
yes,
or she's
absolutely out of her mind.
Yeah, got it.
So shortly after that, I saw this video that everyone was talking about. And when she started talking about like the cockroaches and not cashing her paychecks, and I watched this video and I thought, oh yeah, she is like completely out of her mind. But there was also like this piece of me that saw the authentic. I don't want to sound like church people when I say this, but I do believe in people having gifts and being powerful in their gifts.
Definitely.
And I saw a woman who was being as authentic as she knew how to be with her set of values. And I understood what moved people about her.
Yes.
Because I thought it was an effective communicator. She was a skilled performer.
Yes. Very persuasive. And also really smart about how to, and I mean, in preparing my notes for this, was just watching the things that strategically were done throughout the sermon to make it as powerful and as effective as possible. Yeah.
So got through No More Sheets, and I thought all of those things, and I thought, but I can't. Like, that's not, no, I can't do that. But a year or so later, I heard a sermon by her called The Refiner's Fire. Mm-hmm. And she blew my mind. Like, I saw her, and I became a Juanita Bynum fan. I still, as they love to say in church, like, I knew how to pick out the bones. Because I knew the things about her that I just went, okay, that's like an untouched part of her, an unhealed part of her. That's clearly church dogma that she still believes in. But I also like saw the part of her that did transcend that part of her always pops out. The part of her that's beyond the church people. Mm-hmm. Because I also recognize this is a woman on a man's platform. Mm-hmm. And she is ruling it. She is taking no prisoners. I mean, she had no qualms about taking her time. I mean, when she rolled across the floor in the middle of her sermon in The Refiner's Fire, I thought, oh, this woman is out of her mind and wonderful.
Yeah.
And she just took her space, and I loved that about her. What was the first time you experienced Juanita?
Well, I feel like I know she wasn't always a presence, because I remember her becoming something as I, was growing up. And so I feel like my grade school years was her rise. Mm. And what I remember is seeing No More Sheets, the book, and I did not know that there was a sermon. I just knew No More Sheets, the book, and seeing it like in all the Christian bookstores and everything. And I remembered it being something that was Christian, but this was probably like my first instance of this, something that was Christian, but that was still too adult for me. Because it wasn't something that they were going to show me or have me participate in. And so that was like interesting, because I didn't fully know what that meant or looked like. It's like on some level seems kind of incompatible to me, but at the same time it was just like, okay, so there's this thing that is for church people but not for church kids, because it's not appropriate for kids, but it's Christian. What is that? And so, I want to say that's like one of my earliest memories. And I remember seeing her on television a lot, and she was like, it was like her and I hate to say it, but like her and Paula White, they were like the beginnings of me seeing women preachers on television that were very, it was like, they weren't Joyce Meyer. And so it was like the after every when they would really get moving.
Oh yeah, Paula White had a case of the Jackie McCulloughs. It was but
Juanita would get that really guttural, catch her breath thing too. And so I just remember it being very like aggressive and angry, and I didn't know what to, it just seemed a little scary to me as a kid. And so like those were kind of my first memories of her.
But through the years, I would always have these moments, and I hope I'm not jumping ahead too far.
No, it's fine.
I would have these moments where I thought, okay, she's breaking free of like the crazy church people shit. Like she's really about to like move beyond them and do something theologically that troubles where she comes from. And then she became like a big thing. She moved beyond T.D. Jakes.
Yeah,
she moved beyond T.D. Jakes too. Fairly quickly.
Yeah, that was pretty quick.
Pretty quickly. And they were like disconnected. Like there was apparently something that happened. And
though apparently he's had her back.
He had her back. Yes. Years later.
It was
like
recently.
20 years.
Yeah, like recently it was like a big deal.
So she stopped doing his network circuit and she got her own circuit. And then there was a period of time where she kind of disappeared. And then she reemerged on TBN around 2001. And the same thing happened with her. And she had this whole sermon about a new heart. And it became like her big focus for that year. And when she had the TBN appearance I think with Mark Chirona about a new heart, she started preaching that around the country. I saw her do it in Denver when I was working with an artist and we were there. That's a whole nother story, but it's actually kind of a good story. But I think we'll come back to it.
Okay.
But she preaches that, and what happens is she becomes a TBN entity. And she starts hosting Praise the Lord and started having what we all jokingly call Black People Night, because we had not had Black People Nights before until Juanita.
Yeah.
And to her credit.
Yeah, there were no Black... I mean, there were smatterings of Black people on TBN, but to actually have a devoted program block on a specific day of the, night of the Praise the Lord, whatever, where like everybody on the program was Black. Yeah, that wasn't happening. And we got people that would never have not been on TBN except for Juanita. Dorothy Norwood. She brought Dorothy Norwood on. She brought LaShawn Pace. It was wonderful. If you loved gospel music and you loved the Black church, Juanita was bringing like the authentic piece of the Black church to TBN. Yeah, for the first time. And just again, Tremaine.
Yeah. We could get stuck on that for the rest of the show.
Yeah, no, keep moving.
Tremaine is coming. Tremaine.
I'm ready for Tremaine.
Tremaine is coming now. We ready for Tremaine. Come on, Tremaine.
And so you get like all of that. And then she marries, because they always have to marry. She married Thomas Weeks.
Yeah.
And had this elaborate, bizarre... She compared it, or let me not put words in her mouth. I believe she compared it, or people compared it to Princess Diana. Sure. It was so ornate. I mean, like 2 rings. And she had deplorable people participating in this. John Hagee was one of the ministers who participated in this wedding. Like, that for me, aside from the fact that she'd also done Benny Hinn's show, was like my real... Like, maybe she's not going to do what I thought she was going to do. Yeah. Because the relationships were troubling to me. And... then the Thomas Weeks marriage fairly quickly went bad. And he like disappears. And then the next thing we know, she's on the news talking about, I'm the new face of domestic violence.
Yeah.
And it read to many people, not just me, as a PR move. And when I say that, I am not negating the fact that she was abused.
Yeah.
And the fact that she is a survivor.
Yes.
She was in a domestically violent relationship.
But as a brand, she had to continue to figure out what the messaging was for the brand, and that's how she chose to move forward.
And it read badly to people because it looked like, and largely, and we'll say this, it read that way to people because of sexism.
Well, and I would probably argue because of everything she had already established herself to be as a brand, starting with No More Sheets. I just kind of see the thread from all of the internalized sexism and misogyny of her platform, of her message from that No More Sheets on through. And I just go, yeah, that doesn't really land quite right when your entire everything has been blaming women for their own problems. As we'll get into with the sermon, it doesn't, you can't have both. And you especially can't have both in Christian circles, because they're not going to let you do that. Their sexism is going to check you.
Yes. Because, and it toppled her. So let's say that. Like, it toppled her from what she was. Pretty soon we did not see her on TBN anymore.
Yeah.
And she went on Twitter when Twitter started emerging, and she kind of made a bit of a joke out of herself. She started like typing in tongues on Twitter. People felt like, oh my God, Juanita Bynum's gone crazy. That became a whole thing. And there was a plastic surgery that happened, and that became a subject matter. And so at the end of the day, though, when we're talking about the corrupt institution of corporate Christianity, her male equivalents have done far worse.
Yes, absolutely.
And been far worse than Juanita Bynum ever was.
No, her definitely her treatment was absolutely sexism in comparison to the other. What do you? I mean, this isn't even a scandal. It's just
she was in a violent a relationship,
a horrible set of
violent.
circumstances that happened to her.
Yes,
and now she is treated like the suspect,
And we also have to talk about the women who like a lot of the gospel women, when she was toppled, they were secretly happy about it and not so secretly about it, because I got reports of major gospel figures basically chastising her in panels and in sermons when it was all going down. People that she had put on TBN were throwing her under the bus.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't just men doing it to her. She had other powerful women also piling it on her.
Yeah.
And so even when she seemed like really kind of nuts on the internet in the years after that, I always felt a bit sorry for her. And that I missed her in a bit in being in those spaces because of what she did bring to the table. And this is the thing I think that continues to this day, is that there were extremes. And so when I say we, like in my little church community, we would joke because she almost had like a pattern that you could identify. And so when she was really like joyous and a little taking some risks, you always saw her with longer hair, beautiful clothes, usually like some kind of scandalous boot, and then a month later you'd see her on TBN and it was the God is Angry Juanita.
Consecration Juanita.
And so the hair was gone and she had like the slick down, natural with like the two little pieces standing up, and just consecrated in her white top with her kerchief,
just
and
white,
rigid. God is mad. And so these are like the vacillations we saw, and we would always joke because when in the first 5 minutes we go, oh no, we're not going to watch tonight because God's mad, and because you just knew what was going to come.
And it was that way when she would go to churches. Like I remember seeing her at World Harvest, and it was like, okay, we're getting that Juanita this time, and not fun. Signed to Matthew Knowles label Juanita.
Y'all may be seated because I'm excited now. I'm excited now.
And so, I hadn't seen No More Sheets until we kind of started talking about doing this, and I watched it for the first time. And then I rewatched it in preparation for the show, which was very eye-opening, and it helped me kind of see, that would definitely be why that wasn't something that was watched in the house. But I could also see why it would be something that would resonate with so many women in the church. And so I guess where I want to kind of start is just kind of briefly establishing the fact that women, and I've been trying to find like hard stats on what this is, but women making up a super majority of just church congregations,
Yes.
period, but especially Black congregations.
Yes.
And yet being underrepresented when
Yep.
it comes to Black church leadership.
Yep.
And so her space in that, in the mid 90s, just setting that context for there was a hole, and she filled that hole.
Oh, yeah.
These
Oh, yeah.
women were being preached to or spoken to, but not by people who looked like them or that were going through the same experiences they were going through.
And single women.
Single women. Yes. Yes. Yeah, I really do want to know, like, if anybody has any stats out there on the Black church and just the demographic makeup of the church, like what percentage are women versus men, what percentage are married versus single. Because in my mind, I think back to every church I've ever gone to, and majority women in the congregations, and I feel like of those women, majority single.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely my experience where I come from. Yeah.
Yeah. And so when you look at, when I, put on the video, that was the first thing you notice at this singles conference. Do we know how many people were in attendance at this conference? It looked like...
That was an arena.
Yeah. Yeah. It looked like definitely more than 10,000 people.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's at least 10,000.
Yeah. Yeah. And as you look into the audience, it's, again, predominantly Black women.
Smattering of men.
A visible smattering of what appear to be queer or closeted men. And there also were a few white women too.
Yes.
Yeah. A
Yes.
few little white women, friends from
Friends from work.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about what Juanita has on?
The pink suit.
The pink suit.
Well, you can definitely tell she was not yet, she was relatively unknown. At that juncture, she was, a circuit preacher.
Yes.
She was preaching, evangelizing, probably in small to mid-sized churches.
Mm-hmm.
And her suit reflects that.
But also, she'll, talk about it into the sermon. Like, it's very intentional that it's, like, not an outfit that's, like, curvy.
Yes.
She's got very short hair.
Yes.
Maybe, like, 2 inches.
A Tony Braxton cut.
A Tony Braxton cut. Modest, but it is also pink. And so it's very bold, too, at the same time.
Yes.
Let's see.
So everything is covered. And I think that's an important, that becomes like the push and pull of Juanita throughout her ministry, is that it's either completely like suited up.
She's got a scarf around her neck. And you don't see any chest. You don't see any. Yeah, the skirt
almost touches the floor.
It's at her ankle.
It almost touches the floor.
So the first thing I wrote down in rewatching this sermon is the opening sentence. As she comes out, the first thing that they, when they are editing it, I don't know if she had said anything prior to that, but she says,
I think we have heard and seen enough flesh in this decade to last us throughout eternity.
Which, like, okay, like you're getting no context. You're getting no, like, what is this about? Where are we going with this? Nothing. Just that is the first thing. And from there, she starts doing a lot of disclaiming and just prefacing the whole thing with, I'm scared about being up here today. I'm really nervous. She said God has put her in an uncomfortable position to deliver this sermon. And what she eventually is getting to is, she's talking about being single and, recognizes the fact that which is something that, and I really want to talk about this, something that I always noticed as a child growing up, is all the singles ministry stuff, all of the dating while Christian stuff. Like, there's no biblical precedent for any of that. They try to like, I mean, what do they use to navigate those things? Ruth, you know, like what are they try to like take these stories that loosely identify people that weren't married or whose husbands died or something like that to try to, you know, craft some roadmap for how to navigate that. And there isn't any.
Well,
and so I appreciate her, at the very least, kind of saying that and speaking to that as a single person, as a divorced person. What were you going to say?
Well, I mean, it's hard to find those people in the Bible because they were polyamorous. And so, yeah. That's all I was going to say.
And she eventually starts saying, you know, it's hard for me to, and she even says there's no way for me to talk about it without dipping in my own business. And so she's ingratiating herself to the audience immediately because she's trying to say, like, you know, I'm not coming up here as some, she even says that all these married people, you know, want to come up here and tell us what to do and how to just hold on and just do this. And, you know, it's hard. It's easy to say when you...
Triceps and biceps.
When you've got triceps and biceps at home, you can rub up on or something like that. Yeah. And I do wonder if all the I'm scared, I'm nervous, I'm uncomfortable. Like, do we think that was real? Do we think those emotions were real? Or do we think that was really just a mechanism for her to do that ingratiating of herself?
She was establishing realness with the people.
Yeah.
She was, you know, just saying, like, I'm like you.
Yeah.
Do I think it was real?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
She talks about, you know, I've just bought every book on being single and how to walk single, and none of it helped me, which is hilarious because then she wrote a book after.
Well, because my book's going to be different.
My book is different. My book is better. Then she talks about growing up Kojic and being a virgin. And she, like, you know, she just kind of starts giving you like this whole long, which she does a couple of times. She just starts telling you lots of things in an order that you're not quite sure what that order is or what the timeline is for these things, but you're just kind of taking it all in. She's, you know, she goes from the growing up in Kojic and being a virgin, waiting on God for a mate, and then she gets married to who she calls the wrong man, and then now being divorced, but having experienced sex with a man, which I thought was very interesting that, you know, she wanted to clarify, like, it's different when you have not had sex and may desire sex versus when you have had sex but now aren't allowed to have sex anymore because it wouldn't be right or it would be sinful to do so because you're not married anymore. But again, it's just all that ingratiating herself, and she's, you know, saying she's got them, whatever the reality is. She's also been there at every step of that journey, which I thought was really smart in connecting herself with this audience that maybe she'd been in front of before, but maybe for a lot of them not. And connecting with, it was like she had them all in the palm of her hand from the beginning.
She did.
She says, even today, I'm struggling with a couple of things right now.
Those are the real situations.
Yeah. And, you know, right after that, she immediately goes into just saying some things very explicitly, which, you know, I do wonder how much of that did any of these people in the congregation, any of these women, had they ever had any of that or said to them on that kind of a platform before, in a church setting before. Oh, she says, I'm not going to pretend like I don't ever want to fall and have some sex. It's a fight every day of your life. You in the mall, you see a fine man. You at the laundromat, you see a fine man. You keep wondering yourself, when is it going to be my turn? What am I doing wrong? And the women in the whole congregation just start. That was the first time they just go wild. And they are really just, I mean, she's got them from that point on. She's got them just off of that. Not a verse, not a scripture.
Well, see, but this is the other piece, though, that I think we really have to get more real about, is that people in church people really don't give a shit about the Bible. And the sooner we acknowledge that, the better off we'll be, because these sermons today are stretches. I mean, I heard Bishop Yvette Flunder say the other day, you know, that many preachers, and I'm probably paraphrasing her badly, but she said many preachers or most church people approach the Bible with their theology or their idea already in mind. They already know what they want to prove, and all they got to do is find one scripture to back it up.
Yes.
She said context doesn't matter, all these other, the other cultural context, none of those things really matter. If I can find that one verse, prove my idea, I'm good, I'm ready.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like a lot of, since Juanita, that's been a lot more obvious.
Yeah.
I mean, we used to at least have the pretense of a thought out, well-prepared, research studied sermon idea. I mean, you listen to like C.L. Franklin, As an Eagle Stirs in Her Nest, you get at the very least like he had digested that scripture and that story.
But again, when it's a singles, when that's the theme of it, where is it? There's not anything in there that's gonna...
but see, and that's where I guess that's why I had a hard time with No More Sheets.
Yeah.
Because I was more disappointed that it wasn't an opportunity to really take apart the theology of Christian chastity.
Yeah.
And not, because when I see that audience response, I'm like, this is like, these people are so repressed.
Yes.
And sad.
And full of shame.
Shame.
Around wanting to have sex. Around having sex if they are.
Yep. And wanting it.
And wanting it. And enjoying it.
And enjoying it. And clearly, I mean, even if it's bad. I mean, maybe especially. I don't know. But, it's like, that's all I saw in that video. And I thought, what a missed opportunity. And how much trouble would that have saved her?
But again, as we're going to connect, our thoughts to a lot on the show, not a missed opportunity in terms of money.
Capitalism.
Yeah, in terms of being able to take that bottled up shame and hurt and, having struggles trying to figure out how to operate in this very rigid way of being a Christian in a single world or whatever, just figuring out how to turn it into selling them a videotape or selling them a book.
Yep. Yeah. And she merchandised it up.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to jump ahead too much.
Yeah,
so.
No, yeah, she sure did. And she's just been so much of the sermon. I mean, it's like the part of it, I thought it was interesting, one, that the original title, or at least when she got up on stage, what she said was the original title of the sermon was actually The Process. She didn't go into that with No More Sheets. And so I wonder if at some point, because that does become like the mantra towards the end of the sermon, who at what point said, no, we're not calling this the process. We're calling this No More Sheets. But I thought it's interesting if it was going to have another name, the other name would be Why Am I Not Married? Because she just kept asking that question over and over again.
Tyler Perry movie? No,
Why did I get married?
It should be a Tyler Perry movie. Okay, go ahead.
Why am I not married? And then no,
it could be the prequel.
Oh no, now I'm married. I don't want to. There's no winning. So then she starts, talking about the people in the room. And she's like, look around this building today. We're walking around with all this body and we don't know what to do with it. And they're all they're telling us to do is hold on. And while we're holding on, we're going through all these struggles in our minds and our thoughts. And we're going through hurt from past relationships. And we're all messed up. And it's just...
Well, yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Two things. I hate the entire church people premise of we're all just messed up and we got our junk. I hate it.
Yeah.
No, are we fearfully and wonderfully made, or are we messed up and got our
broken
junk? Yeah. I mean, which is it? I mean, let's have some theological, solidarity here. What are we?
Yeah.
And so there's that whole piece of it. And everyone, when you say that we're all messed up, they instantly Like, go in on that.
They do. They love being told
They
over and over again that they're and then the connecting it to the body and connecting it
Yes.
to, having, she even like gave out specific measurements of like 34, 20.
Oh yeah, Commodores.
Yeah. And it's just like, yeah, there are some very physically attractive people in the room, and there are some that aren't too. But yeah, to connect that body that you don't know what to do with, just full of flesh, more flesh than we could have.
Oh yeah,
that lasts us a lifetime. As she opened it with, it's again connecting that body back to just this base, just immoral, just almost animalistic.
Oh, yes. Because you can't even touch your own. Because she makes that clear.
That's the very next thing she goes into. And then she starts talking about all her friends that, aren't saved, telling her to masturbate. And again, as soon as I'd heard this, I went, yeah, that's probably why this sermon wasn't in my house when I was growing up. But she says, and I said, God, there's got to be more than this. And I just go, oh, Lord. So now we can't even find self-pleasure, which we're seeing as a sin, even something that might be enjoyable, because we, don't know how to do it right? She's just talking about being dissatisfied with even trying it. And that's what I'm like, do you not know how to pleasure yourself? Like, is that what we're getting at here? Or is it just, once you've gotten used to a partner pleasuring you, it's just not enough? What were you gonna say?
Well, I think that there's also a not distinguishing between sex as pleasure and sex as companionship. And so I think that's why, I'm guessing, I could be very wrong.
I think you're definitely on to something there.
But I think that the not unraveling those two things is why it would not be enough.
Yeah.
And
to want to be held,
yes.
even if that isn't,
yes,
actual stimulation of body parts.
Yeah. Because I actually don't believe that people enjoy sex this much.
Because it feels so good.
It's about the presence of another person. I don't believe that they're just enjoying all this sex just all this much. I just don't.
Yeah.
I just don't. Because I've had too many other conversations with people who are honest about what sex has been like.
Yeah.
And
we know lots of straight women
never
aren't having
orgasms. Yes. Yes.
So
a what?
Yeah, exactly. And so, whatever the case, be that as it may, she then goes on to say, if I gotta go down to the altar to repent, I'm not repenting because I took care of myself. If I gotta go down to the altar, I'm about to go get me somebody and have them all day and all night. So then she gets into the process thing, and she's talking about, getting massages and how massages are about massaging the toxins out of the body. And she's ultimately getting to soul ties, and she's connecting that toxins conversation to these soul ties. And she starts getting into, that very deeply patriarchal, misogynistic way of framing sex and intercourse. And she's saying men are projectors and women are receptive, and men release and women get an impartation, and our mates are chosen in the spirit realm, and once you have sex, the spirit of the man comes into your body and you become one. And so all these women are walking around with all these men inside of them if they've had multiple partners, and the men are just not.
Yeah, they're fine.
Yeah,
don't you love the men are fine? Allegedly.
Yeah. They've got nothing to worry about. She said that they, it is a release to them, so it does weaken them on some level, but it's nothing compared to. Yeah, it's clearly nothing compared to walking around with all these men spirits inside of you.
Just insanity. It's just insanity, because it's also like the psycho spiritualizing.
Yeah.
Of no, actually, you're just codependent.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe you're not making wise choices about who you're having sex with, or maybe you're not clear about what your expectations are from that sexual relationship. But like, it doesn't have to be that.
Yeah.
And so I feel like church people create a sexual pathology.
Well, absolutely. Because it can never just be like, don't have sex with people unless you don't trust them. With that, like if we just establish that as a baseline, I feel like that can cut through so much of the post-sex, post-relationship baggage. If we can figure out how to amicably not be having sex anymore when we're done doing that or whatever, that's a lot easier when you are choosing to have that kind of relationship with somebody you trust or someone who, you feel like isn't going to treat you like shit afterwards. I don't know. It's a concept, but sin. So I guess we have to just flatten it and.
Well, but when you're also working from a very, elementary premise of relationship, and you don't know what you're reading, because clearly, if you were reading the Bible, you'd recognize this was a non-issue because these men had thousands of wives.
Yeah.
These men had multiple wives, and there was, a different relationship with marriage. Like women were property.
Yeah.
And, it was basically a business relationship between families.
Yeah.
And so when you also aren't understanding what you're reading and you're creating a theology center that doesn't exist in the Bible you're referencing. It just doesn't exist there.
Yeah.
Marriage and there was no emotional relationship between these people.
Wasn't about a compatibility at all.
And so that we don't really hear any of the preachers on these platforms, on the Juanita Bynum, T.D. Jakes, Paula White platforms dissecting marriage in this way, it would make sense that this is what you end up with.
Yeah, she says, God told her, every time you sleep with somebody, you are marrying them. You're not married now. You want to be married so bad. You're not married now because you're not single. Because all of the sex she'd had created all those marriages with all of those.
So she's just like the people in the Bible.
Well, but no, because she's a woman. The men can have multiple marriages, but not the women. I do want to take a second, though, because, we talked a lot about how all of this resonated with the women of the church. But you're saying, you were introduced to her and this sermon in particular by a gay man.
The gay man in my life. Not that he was the only gay male in my life, but one of the gay men in my life in the church.
Yeah.
Knew of her because he'd come from another state. She had spoken at his church there. So he was aware of her.
Yeah.
Well aware of her, before this. And then, thought she was wonderful.
Well, and it's just interesting that because I feel like, I'm sure I did this at times as a kid. Kind of saw myself in both of the addressings that sermons would do. And so they would, be talking to the women and, what women's relation, because it's all just, so heteronormative and heteropatriarchal, saying what women's place should be or, how women should see in their men. But they'd also do it with the men and what men should see in their women. And I would often take both messages in as a kid or a teenager or a young adult and try to place myself in both shoes. And so it's interesting that clearly other gay men in the church do this. They code the messaging that is being addressed to women, to single women, and put themselves in that. And so any conversation about because where else are you gonna get any kind of messaging in the church about how you're coupling or what your relationships are. You're grimacing.
Well, because I'm thinking back to this was the only time in our little Holiness church we ever wheeled a TV into the sanctuary.
Oh my God.
And played a VHS sermon. It was the first and only time that ever happened. And no, they wanted the children to see it
I was
in our
gonna.
church.
I love that you said that because I was opening my mouth to say, "And were the children present?"
Oh yeah, the children
my
were
gosh.
present because, you know, got to deal with these little fast girls. You know, and so this was like, you know, this is
How
like,
was this sermon?
This was like
as we get into the rest of
1990s.
this. How is this sermon going to speak to? Okay, go ahead.
but it's like 1990s, like the equivalent of what we experience with misinformation today.
Yeah.
It's like the sexual equivalent. It's like such misinformation, and how many, I mean, Mary J. Blige big upped this sermon.
Oh God.
And Juanita's ministry. I mean, this was something that had a mass appeal because nothing reaches people more than verified, validated shame.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I really hate that that's how she emerged for people.
Yeah.
Because I feel like she did bring other things to the table. But it's very much like the new millennium way of getting attention. You find your most deepest shame or error or mistake, and you parlay it into your platform.
Yeah.
And Juanita was really one of the early pioneers in doing that in the church world.
And always just selling people's insecurity
Yes.
and their faults back to them. I mean, she goes on to talk about, you know, the desires that these women have or that they formed from past relationships
Yes.
and then bringing them to, you know, new partners.
Yep.
And she, like, specifically, spank me, whip me. And, you know, is saying, like, well, no, that's what past guy did. New guy isn't interested in doing that. And I guess I just go, why do we need to demonize the sexual desires of a woman, whether or not that desire might be toxic or might have been learned from a past relationship? It's clearly something that she now wants to have.
Yeah, but I don't think church people look at sex that way. I mean, sex is not, it's weird.
Yeah, it's not about figuring out what you want and figuring out how to
And
have
relishing
that
in
with
that.
each other. Yeah.
Sex is, I mean, my experience in the church world with sex was just that sex was something, it's almost like, I feel like everyone enjoyed it more when it was a secret or vilified, or, you know, when you took that risk to have it. I feel like church people enjoyed it more that way versus having any kind of acceptance around it, whether that was in marriage, because why are all the married men, not all, let me take that back, why were so many in the era I grew up in, why were so many married men cheating?
Yeah.
Why were so many married men who were married to women having sex with men
Yeah.
while they were married behind their wives' back? It's not about bisexuality or, you know, some open-minded sexuality. It's about secrets and repression.
Yeah. Yeah.
And why is that the preference?
Yeah. So I do find it interesting, and I'm sure these were conversations that were happening before this, but I realized as this comes up on Twitter and Facebook all the time, these, you know, wannabe relationship experts or dating advice people, what are you bringing to the table? And she actually says that verbatim in
Yes.
the sermon. What are you bringing to the table?
Come on here, somebody. When you get ready to get married, what are you bringing to the table, Miss Sister Thing? Besides eyeliner and lipstick, you ain't got no savings account. All of your credit cards is charged up, and now you want somebody to be a rescue.
I want to get married and you can't even cook. I want to get married and your nails are too long to even make a biscuit. I want to get married. You can't even wash clothes. And then she like segues immediately into debt and financial.
Yep.
Which again, like, that's totally stripping any kind of notion of what marriage might have been in Bible days, quote unquote Bible days, because women couldn't even have bills or credit or,
Right.
you know, until very recently. And so she makes this very interesting conflation between financial security and integrity. She uses the word integrity a lot when she like, it's just like one sentence about finances and money, and then she's like talking about integrity, and I just go, that's really interesting. Y'all look so good out there, sisters. I ain't even gonna ask which one of you has a bank account. It's like so weird, the like bait and switch that she does throughout the whole thing.
It's nice.
It's very nice nasty. Do you have integrity? Is your bills paid? And it's weird because the men on the platform, as she's doing this, the men that are on the platform, Jakes and the other pastors or whoever that were a part of the conference, like, they're getting hype as she's doing that. Like, kind of even more than the women in the congregation, even though which is just so classic. Like, yeah, of course these men are going to applaud and cheer on her, you know, again, demonizing these thousands of women out there.
Well, and I think this is important to note that this remains a huge part of who she is and what she does. I mean, even up to like last year, she was shaming praise and worship leaders for wearing thongs and, you know, not having the right undergarments.
Cleavage.
And their cleavage and their clothes are so tight. And, you know, I just have to wonder, like, why do you hate women so much?
Yeah. Well, because she clearly was, especially, you know, she says it during the sermon, wrestling with self-hate. Lots of self-hate.
Lots of it. And we also know she's acknowledged that she's been in sexual relationships with women.
Yes.
And so it also, the other thing I hear in like the venom she spews towards women is her own attraction to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's a lot of it's like, I have to deflect and I have to like make you feel bad about yourself because I also am attracted to you and I have to make that bad as well.
Yeah.
It's really kind of sick.
Yeah. 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 And we know, like, that's a reality. And we've seen it over and over. I have seen it over and over again with lots of people in leadership in the church, and even just church mothers. You know, that thread of having an issue with literally every single thing other women, young women, single women, married women do.
Well, Lexi makes, I mean, if you've ever watched Holy Ghost Enforcers, I think Lexi makes a really great, subtle, she slides that in the comedy of the deflection of the older women and how they treat the younger women and the reasons they do it. And she, you know, it's really, you've got to watch it and know that's what you're seeing. Otherwise, you don't really get it.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, she's totally lifting that. It's self-hate. It's just self-hate.
Yeah. So about half an hour into the sermon, a lady helper person brings out...
The armor bearer.
That's right. See, I'm not churched enough. These are the phrases that leave my head.
Adjutant.
Yes. So her lady armor bearer brings out a stack of very large, I can't tell if they're queen or king size bed sheets. And Juanita starts tying the sheets around her. And so that's where this whole no more sheets thing comes from. She's tying the sheets one by one around herself. She's, you know, talking to the audience again. This is you, all tied up, layers and layers of junk, wrong ideas, baggage. When a man looks at you, he sees a major responsibility. He can look in your eyes and tell that you're needy. She's saying this as she's tying the sheets. And she's saying each of these sheets represents different men, different experiences, past relationships. And then she starts talking about, you know, how that was her bound up in these sheets. And she talks about going through all this consecration. This is where the angry Juanita, or God is angry Juanita, comes out. She said it took her about 1.5 years just to get over one man. And it's interesting. She like does this weird segue. Most of us didn't have but a 5-minute man, but the devil would make it seem like it was hours and hours.
See?
Yeah, not even good sex. Not even good sex. And so she talks about fasting and praying and, you know, doing all this consecration to get over this man or multiple men. And then one day she saw him. Who knows where she saw him? I don't know if this was at church or just on the street. And she like does this illustration, which is, you know, what the pastors always do with their props. They bring up the things and, you know, show what they do. And so she's taking off the sheet. And one day I saw him and she blows the sheet off of herself and it falls behind her. And I didn't feel anything for him anymore. All those memories, you know, didn't, you know, do anything for me anymore. And that's the I guess basically the thesis of the sermon, the no more sheets. And so then she does this thing which I find really, really gross, is, you know, in talking about this process of walking with God and doing this consecration, and she says, for a season the saved men aren't even going to be the men that are going to look at you. She said it's the hoodlums that still look at you, talking about how you doing.
Oh dear.
When they're still looking at you, that means there's something still on you.
That's right.
She said when you get a no good demon still talking about, I sure would like to get with you. There's something about the way you dress, and bringing back to what you were saying about the clothes, the way that the way you look, that's still attracting that kind of men. And then she, you know, positions herself as the antithesis of that. Those men don't even speak to me. And then she starts talking about the kind of man that she wants to attract. And she goes on this whole thing about the eagle and how the female eagle will drop a branch or something that's like the weight of a baby eagle. And if the male eagle catches it, then that lets her know that, you know, that's a good eagle for her to mate with. And she says, I don't want nobody that can't catch me in the spirit. She talks about how... So she goes back to talking about how it took her years to get rid of these sheets, and she's getting up at 5 a.m. every morning or 5:15 a.m. every morning, and, you know, and then when that wasn't enough, just to like roll out of bed in her pajamas and do all this praying and, you know, devotion. God said, I want you to treat me like you would your man. And so now she has to get up and get dressed and get herself together before she's, you know, doing all this consecration. And it just all sounds like a lot of work that really doesn't sound necessary.
It just sounds crazy.
And I'll say why it doesn't sound necessary a little bit later. Then she does this other, she really starts like getting into like her testimony, and she's talking about how she had a sugar daddy. And it's weird because she makes it sound very cushy, like he was buying her all these things. I never really get what was explicitly wrong with that relationship and why she needed to end it, other than God. She said God was working on her. And so she, you know, then she's getting very tearful and it's very emotional. Actually, she's talking about, you know, I got tired of people kissing on me. I got tired of people with their hands in my underwear. It's interesting, the things that are explicit but aren't. I got tired of people sleeping with me and people telling other people how it was. She's talking about like brothers in the church. Yeah. You know, walking in the church and the men are looking at her some kind of way because they know. And then she goes, Lord, I want to be beautiful again. I was so ugly to myself. I don't want to wear sexy clothes, is what she told the Lord. And she said, and that's why I don't wear anything that shows my shape. I don't want anybody to choose me because I have a nice figure, because I have nice legs. I want someone to see my heart. I'm a chosen vessel. I'm a queen.
And you know that sells automatically.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's sad.
It's very sad.
to yeah. Yeah. Because that really was the crux of her, and clearly still is, the crux of her entire ministry, is around this not feeling worthy, clearly having a lot of sexual compulsion. Because I wouldn't argue that it's soul ties. I wouldn't argue that it's some spirit. I would just argue that it's dealing with a lot of lack of self-worth, a lot of shame and desires. And yeah.
Well, and being armchair psychologist here, I mean, I also feel like that kind of what feels like a pathology that she's created for herself. And that level of shame and that level of degradation that she felt I would bet you it goes much further back into something that she did not have control over
Yeah.
when she was much younger.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you preach a sermon like this with the intention of helping people heal without referencing sexual trauma or sexual abuse in childhood, because all I really hear is you've created, you just hoeing with everybody and sleeping with everybody, but not going back to what the actual beginning of relationship with sexuality was.
Yeah.
And so I just feel like it's a bunch of ritual and a bunch of prescriptions that she's trying to assign, which is what I think her whole relationship with spirituality really is. Like, she did the 5 a.m. prayer thing for years and years and years, and had, women getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And just feels like a lot of distraction without really actually dealing with anything.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. So she leaves the sugar daddy, and she talks about how that was a sacrifice for her, because now she's poor. Before he was taking care of everything, and now she's poor. She has holes in her shoes. She tells a story about, going to McDonald's and getting a soft drink so that she can get napkins and use that as toilet paper for her time of the month. It's very just graphic and very destitute. She's talking about the roach in the purse story. Was she on a plane?
Because she was a flight attendant.
Yes, and a roach crawled out of her purse, and a woman laughed at her because of the roach, and talks about being without a car, without a place to live, without any money. And she said God had to retrain her to depend on him versus all the men that she feels she, quote unquote, sold sex to in exchange for what she needed and wanted. And I thought it's again, something that we see a lot in the church is this conflation of the desires for things like designer clothes and jewelry and fancy cars, and they're put on the same level as just like basic needs of shelter and food. Like, why is there no middle ground in terms of just survival or hierarchy of needs or whatever, and where God falls into that, or where we depend on other people for that, or depending on the wrong people for that, or putting too much emphasis on one thing or another? It's just like it's all just flattened.
And it's all extreme, because she either had designer bags with all the latest things, or she got McDonald's tampons.
Right. Yeah.
But there's no middle ground. There's no balance. And so it feels also, again, armchair psychologist here, like it feels very bipolar.
Yeah.
Because it's like either it's this extreme or it's this extreme, but there's never anything in the middle. But I also want to connect this kind of extremism to her sister.
Yes.
She had her sister on TVN, and it was a similar tale.
Then when they told me that you don't have a voice box, that we took it out. So they put a little tube down there. They sent me home and said, she gonna have to be able to talk like this. But my mother was a faith walker. She took that olive oil and she poured it in that hole. And the next morning I got up, that thing was out. And they told me if she talks, she'll talk not above a whisper. But when I got up the next morning, I've been talking ever since.
Either manic spirituality or manic drug abuse. But it's, nothing in between.
As people who, it sounds like, grew up in the church.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so my question is, what happened?
Yeah.
What happened?
Why did you need to leave the church for some time, or even in your church experience, have to go through these traumas?
Because it feels, in the more jaded part of me, feels like it's really irresponsible.
Yeah.
Particularly for somebody like, Juanita Bynum, who has, in the years since all of this, had means, sustained a particular kind of means. I would assume that she has done a particular kind of work personally to at least get to a point where she's not doing that extreme anymore, like where she's not tanking herself economically. And so with that, I would assume she's done a certain level of work, probably with a therapist, or with, maybe she knows a lot more now than she did when she did No More Sheets. But to never go back and really deal with sexual trauma, sexual abuse, and the fact that you've also validated your sister's testimony of her own extremes and had her on the show. Like, what did y'all experience? And I don't mean like everything is our business or we need to know everything, but it does feel like if you make your platform about essentially sexuality, women in sexuality, and you have spent a large part of your ministry shaming women,
Yeah.
and you don't ever deal with the people that actually did abuse you,
Yeah.
and how that began.
No,
it
she
feels,
just wants to keep connecting it back to personal responsibility and making bad choices and doing the wrong thing and feeling shame about all of that. Yeah.
It just feels irresponsible
It
to
is.
me.
It very much so is. And and her story just, gets even worse. It's like for a second she like goes into, and all my ex-boyfriends were getting married in my face. But then she like starts talking about like real traumas, like I had 3 miscarriages and I had a nervous breakdown behind my marriage and I was in an institution and the doctor said I would never be right and I developed anorexia and I almost died. I was 6 months from being dead.
Those are the things I actually want to know about. Those
Yeah.
are the things that we need to be dissecting, or
Yeah.
you need to be dissecting in your sermon.
Yeah.
Because those are actually the reasons you had all these other things going on.
Yeah.
Not because you're horny, because you aren't actually horny. Truth be told.
Right. It's funny because she then says, and you sitting out there today and you don't want to go through and you don't want to suffer and you don't want to be without. No. This sounds awful. Like, and she's comparing like the fall and also the needing to to rely on God, in place of all the men and all the sugar daddies and just wanting to be married. But I just like we can take marriage off the table. We can, just be single and not have to have these Job-like horror stories.
But that's the appeal for
It's
them.
the Christian way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she does all the consecration and she goes through all this and, I guess is delivered and healed. And she talks about getting her body back and, now my breasts aren't in Texas and my vagina isn't in Europe and my behind isn't in California. And she says, wherever your body parts are, start calling them back. And this is like maybe the second time she actually does reference the scripture. She talks about Romans 12 and, presenting your body as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable. Just very, very, very loose ties to biblical. Yeah, there's probably maybe 3 mentions of actual scripture in the whole shebang. Then she goes back into even more self-deprecating, but also just putting down all the women in attendance. Some of y'all think you're women. This is when you become a woman, when you can look at a man of God and tell him, I'm not ready for marriage. God's not finished with me. I can't mess up your life. I'm too broken right now, basically.
And I guess where's the importance of finding out the kind of work men have done around themselves while you're so busy preparing yourself?
Right.
What are your questions for potential Mog when the man of God, when he emerges? Like, we're not talking about that.
Well, no, because the real men of God,
They're just magic.
they're going to attract those kinds of men when they're ready. She already said that. She said, right now, you're attracting the hoodlums. So you're currently attracting the hoodlums.
I want to talk to the women who find the Mogs
Yeah.
and talk to them 10 years into their marriage and find out just how magical and wonderful it really was or is if the marriages make it 10 years.
And just how shitty to put down all the women in the audience who on that level are probably wonderful, lovely women. Wonderful, lovely women. And clearly they're not wonderfully made because they're attracting no good demons because they're attractive or because they...
And they're going to give her their money because she is the closest thing to speaking to them that they've gotten.
Yeah. She says you need to be able to say a man can't do it right now. Your problem is too deep for a man. Don't even do yourself that bad. Don't put that responsibility on a man. Which on a level, yes.
Jesus.
But the answer isn't, I'm not good enough for you right now. It's not you, it's me.
Yes. Yes.
The answer is, yeah, it's important to figure out your values and your... So then she gets to her kind of closer, which is, after all that, after spending an hour and some change talking about sex, she says, sex ain't everything. Tell yourself right now, don't marry for sheets. She said, and then she, basically just starts saying that all the work that she's done. She says, for everybody in the audience, it's over. The weight of the anointing that's on my life has severed every dead relationship that's ever been in your life right now. Which made me just go, okay, so do they now need to go and do the consecration that she did? Or has she died on the cross for their sins? So they don't have to wake up at 5 a.m.
No, they
and have
to.
roaches crawl out of their purses.
No, because they got to buy the Morning Glory CD to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning with.
Got it. Well, after she says this, the audience is shouting and running down the aisles. And, she's saying that they're all being loosed and being delivered from the memories and the thoughts and the desires for sex with the past partner. She's saying they're healed. She's the residue all over this building, even though, and it's very interesting. She sneaks this in. The residue all over this building, even those of you who have been molested, is being peeled off today. The spirits are being broken. And again, like that, I feel like that's just such another conversation that's just getting sandwiched into everything else.
Yeah.
And it feels like, is she trying to tell us something there,
Well, she's separating it in a way that I don't feel like the particular conversation she was trying to have, I don't feel like it can be separated from sexual abuse.
Yeah.
Because I feel like so much of the types of behavior she's describing are the result of sexual abuse.
Well, and I hate that because I do feel like, on a level, yes. On a level, there is a lot of interconnectedness. But I want to have an orgasm conversation
right.
is not the...
Agreed.
I'm just trying to get over past relationships conversation, is not the I'm getting over trauma and sexual assault and sexual violence.
Which with her is hard to unpack.
Because it's all put together.
Yeah, it's all put together. Like she's very, oh God, I don't know if I want to say this, but like it's very deceptive because the way the conversation starts, it is about, I just want to have an orgasm. But then when she goes further, it becomes more and more about all of the disconnected ways she has a relationship with sex.
Yeah.
Which takes me to the point we already talked about, which is, do you really just want I don't think you really do want an orgasm because I think you're looking for something else.
An answer or...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it means something else. It's not because... And so I don't... it's complex to even have this conversation about that sermon because I feel like it's about 5 different things.
Right. And it sucks because we do know the statistics about women who have suffered sexual violence or at the very least sexual harassment.
Yes.
And, to see all of the women in the audience be taken in, to be putty, in her hands through all of this. And I just go, well, did all of them have roaches crawling out of their purse? And probably not. And on that level, probably haven't had, the same, specifics that she's talking about as it relates to the sexual relationships or assault or whatever either. But a lot of them probably have. And unfortunately...
Or know someone that has.
Or know someone that has. And so it's, again, just unfortunate that... I think you could walk away with it on one level and look at this, especially probably the male pastors and pastoral leadership that watched this take off, watched this become a blockbuster in the church and go, look at all of these women, all of these people, our congregants who have not been talked to about their experiences.
Right.
And it's hard to untangle, like, how much of those experiences are the benign stuff. And yeah, how much of it is this other stuff, developing eating disorders and, just seeking out sex for self-worth.
Yes.
Or just
Yes.
trying to get over being molested. You know, it's just all too many different conversations.
Yes.
So at this point, you know, she starts walking down the aisles. She's waving one of the sheets. It's just kind of ironic, like, isn't the sheet the bad thing? But she's waving it over people. And she's declaring no more sheets.
Is she waving the residue on people?
I'm so
that's right,
confused.
she doesn't have any residue.
She doesn't, yeah.
So it's probably just holy that's dripping off of her sheet.
Yeah, I think this sheet is a different sheet.
It's a different
this sheet. Is
well,
just
it's like... okay, go ahead.
So she's waving the sheet and she, you know, tell somebody, I know it ain't gonna be easy, but I'm not going in between no more sheets. It ain't gonna be easy, but I'm not going in between no more sheets. I don't want nobody touching me that's not my husband. And she's waving the sheet. Then she, you know, is back on the platform. She has everybody pull out a tissue or a scarf or a handkerchief. She tells them to start wiping themselves down, wipe their bodies down. It's kind of striking too, because they've got all these cameras situated, and you're seeing like thousands of the people in the audience do this, and they're wiping themselves with the tissues. Clean Willie off. Clean Janice off.
The cleaning crew was livid.
And then they throw the tissues out there.
Cleaning crew was livid.
And so everybody throws their tissues. Then she starts singing, Lord, I'm available to you.
That Billy Goat gets out.
Yeah, I love it. She has everybody in the audience grab somebody and they hug them. And this actually is like, it sucks because there's these little moments of niceties.
The Juanita thing.
Yeah, so everybody's like grabbing each other. They grab a partner, and you know, she said, the Lord said, I'm joining you now with a right spirit. And so, you know, to see these women hug each other and embrace each other, connect, consoling, you know, there's tears streaming. And I just go, that's nice. You don't see that every day. But unfortunately, everything that's been said before and that will be said after this is just the worst possible.
Yeah.
Anyway, then she has the audience chant, no more sheets.
No more sheets.
She says, we're going to make, it's a vow. We're making a covenant between her and them. And they're chanting no more sheets. And then it's interesting. This is another, again, framing of like knowing that this tape is going to go somewhere. She has the cameraman face the audience. So he's on stage looking out at the audience. She turns around and faces the camera. And she starts talking in this very global way.
So smart.
I know, right? It's crafty. This very global way. And she's like, we will be sanctified and holy vessels. And we will wait for men and the women that God has for our lives. No more touching, no more rubbing, no more tongue kissing, no more lipping and lapping, which is an expression I wasn't familiar with. Lipping and lapping? No more sheets. She starts talking about America, and she starts talking about overseas, and we will not be put down in America as cheap sluts. And then she starts, you know, prophesying, because it's Prophetess, Juanita Bynum. That was, right. I guess, the first title. She says, the single people are about to rock America. We will... It goes immediately into financial prosperity stuff. So we will drive the best cars. We will live in the best houses. We will have the best jobs. Get ready for stock accounts. Get ready for bonds. In less than 90 days, you will get raises. You will get better jobs. What does any of this have to do with...
Well, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So I have to... I have to tell this 90 days thing.
Yes, please. Please do. Please
so
share.
So when we were in Denver for the same conference she was speaking at, I'm on the platform with the person I was working with. You know, go through the whole service, and Juanita preaches her New Heart sermon. And it was the typical Juanita thing. So like midway through the sermon, you know, the Holy Ghost breaks out and she just starts running around prophesying for people. So she runs over to us and she prophesies over the person that I was with. And she says, 7 days, 7 supernatural experiences in the spirit. It's going to happen. And you're going to, you know, I'm paraphrasing, but yeah, it was this the whole 7 experiences, 7 days. So I fly back home to Florida. They fly back to where they came from. About 3 days later, they called me and they said, nothing's happened. So I would love to know, of the women in attendance at No More Sheets, how many of them in 90 days. Yeah, I need a report.
We needed an exit survey.
Women who were at No More Sheets in 1996, possibly. We'd love to hear from you about what happened for you 90 days after that sermon.
And that's not the first time frame that she gives. Before that, though, she has a couple people like come up and she, lays hands on them or grabs their hand. One is a brother. Comes up, grabs his hand. The Lord told me to tell you, she wasn't all that no way. Sisters, cheer for your brother. Sister, and all the women are gathered around him. Some of these sisters slap up on his back and tell him she wasn't all that no way. Give him strength. It's just such a weird,
the self-hatred.
Yeah,
is really a lot.
Yeah.
To take in.
Yeah.
You hate women that much.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course he's receiving.
Of course he's receiving.
So, then we get another prophecy. 1 year from today's date, which then she kind of changes to some of you within 6 months. You're going to be out of debt. God's going to give you a master plan. She said, all you're going to have is a house note, car note, insurance, no other bills. The audience is going wild again to all of this, buck wild. 20 people will be sent divine connection. She's talking about like entrepreneurship plans, opening restaurants. She said, I've got, and this is how the whole thing ends. This is the very end of it. She talks about, I've got stocks and CDs. She says, I've got my own house, 2 houses. I don't want to leave you out. If I can do it, you can do it. And the very last thing that's said before it fades out, ain't nothing but a thing. Yeah.
I missed that she already had 2 houses at that point.
She sure snuck it in. Yeah.
Wow.
So, for as humble as her dress was, yeah. But she was, throughout the thing, she talks about wanting to buy herself fancy jewelry. And, if you want a ring, buy yourself a ring. So all that gets kind of thrown in there. It's interesting. I noticed her Wikipedia page is very bare. There's nothing on it.
Yes.
Has it always been so short?
I don't know.
I just find it interesting that there's nothing about her there.
Well, and she's also like rebooted her social media multiple times.
Yeah, things have come
ministry.
down. And yeah.
I mean, that Twitter is like scraped clean because all them tongue tweets are gone.
Yes. And it might be a different account. I'm not sure if that's still the same.
Right.
Yeah. So as you said, after this, of course, the No More Sheets book happens. Also, Morning Glory.
Well, she was buying 30-minute spots on multiple networks, but largely BET. Mm-hmm. So if you got up at 6 o'clock in the morning, you could watch her for 30 minutes.
It was an infomercial.
Ultimately, but she was selling her videos. She was selling Refiner's Fire, No More Sheets, and all these other sermons she'd done, and Morning Glory at that point.
Yeah.
Like the dew in the morning,
gently rest upon my heart. Yeah, love it. At some point, and here's the thing, I would love, Juanita, we love you. We would love to produce. So she hasn't put out an album in, I want to say, over 10 years now.
Has not.
Yeah. I actually would love to do an album on her. So at some point, she becomes Dr. Juanita.
Yes.
At what point did she marry Bishop Weeks? Because it was like a secret, right?
Well, yeah, that's why the wedding era is always a bit of a blur for me, because she was actually married, if I'm not mistaken. She was married, I think, a year before the public knew she was actually married, because they were concerned about, allegedly, they were concerned about how her single woman fan base would respond to her now being married. And so that's my understanding. They were married in 2002. 9 months prior to a ceremony televised on TBN.
Okay, so that was
9 months, not a year.
Yeah, we talked about Black Knight on Praise the Lord, which is funny. You introduced me to her phrase, "Somebody in television land."
Somebody in television land, yes.
Somebody in television land.
to mess me up. Somebody in television land start pulling on this healing. Somebody in television land said, this ain't no program. This is my lifeline. Somebody in television land was about to commit suicide. Somebody in television land, Handy Osha, had a bad report. But I came tonight to tell you, whose report will you believe?
Because this was, I mean, it's in my era. I mean, because I'm older. I mean, we heard television land. I heard it all the time when I was a kid. It was, but I would guess that by the 90s, people weren't saying it quite as much. But she said it all the time.
Somebody in television
Somebody in
land
television
right
land
now
pulling on this anointing.
Yeah, yeah. But also the Clark sisters. We love watching that one.
Great moment.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, one day I'm gonna learn how to do that. Yeah. I'm gonna give Kiki. I'm telling you that. Am I doing it right, y'all? Yeah.
And she, the other thing is, she clearly did love music, and she clearly did revere the gospel greats, and so she was just having a ball.
She got the unsung. I mean, she got Carolyn Ramsey on the show. I mean, she did. I mean, I really want to. I know I've made a lot of fun of her.
And we've talked about all the toxic stuff, but I do want to talk about the good. I do. Yeah,
she was. I mean, the thing is, she was also, when she wasn't wrapped up, you know, in all of the awful stuff, she was so much fun.
Yeah,
she loved to laugh.
Yes. And at some point, the Lord split me open.
There was a sermon called Lord Split Me Open,
with
an unfortunate video cover.
Yeah. That has since become a great meme on Twitter.
It goes viral at least once a year.
Yeah, I see it all the time. I love it. And it got really big for her. Like you said, the Threshing Floor conferences.
Threshing Floor. I even did a song called Threshing Floor on my last album, which I dedicated to her. Yeah, she had her own conferences. I mean, huge conferences. And it became a bit... Okay, wait, we have to talk about the prayer cloths. Because this was also like... This is when the two Juanitas fused, you know, where it was angry God, but with hair. That was rare. She was doing, because she also did the awful TBN praise-a-thons. Yes. When they would have the big week-long telethons.
Yeah, she was good at it.
She was really good at it, but I don't know if her nerves were bad one night or what happened, but so she's on there, and it was during the era where she was desecrating Jewish prayer shawls.
Oh, God.
And cutting them in pieces. I forgot about this. Yeah, so she was on, it was the beginning of the prayer shawl era, and she has Candy Staten and little Betty Jean Robinson cutting up pieces of the prayer shawls to give to people in the prayer line. Yeah. And so this woman comes up, this poor woman walks up, and Candy like cuts a piece, and Juanita turns around to her and she says, "Can't you see she can't handle that much anointing? That piece is too big for her." And I just went, oh, Jesus. So we're not just like prayer shawl cutters. We also have to be like spiritual discerners for you to discern like the level of people's anointings. Lady, you are out of your mind. And Candy Staten just was like having none of it. And she was just like handing her the prayer shawl, the piece she cut in the first place. It's like...
Just take it.
Just take it, girl. She can't handle that much anointing. And I was like, ooh, okay. She's a little out of control. And so, you know, we had like really odd things, like the whole attachment to Jewish spirituality happened. And it was offensive. It was offensive. I mean, when she had the big Ark of the Covenant being carried in at the Threshing Floor conference, and the shofar. Because
I was gonna wait, because that's like you know, in the past 5 years, Juanita. Well, we had the shofar
at the Threshing Floor conference. They were blowing the shofars, and just all this kind of, you know, it's the part of her where I go, I wish she could just embrace being an interfaith, you know, guru of sorts, and just like not know it all. Yeah. But it always becomes this saleable package. It always becomes this another way in which our spirituality can be rigidly monitored.
Very absolutist.
Yes. So then, you know, of course, Sisters in the Spirit tour, which looked like it was going to be fun.
But you don't want to miss it because it's just not a program. It's just not a tour. It's a supernatural experience with sisters doing it in the Spirit.
Now, was that before Gospel Goes Classical?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that paved the way to Gospel Goes Classical.
Was that before Piece of My Passion?
No.
Okay.
Yes.
That was before Piece of My Passion?
That was before Piece of My Passion.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did timeline, could not figure that out. Okay.
Yeah, it was before Piece of My Passion, because all of those things like were building for her to have that big thing happen.
Yeah. So Sisters in the Spirit was her, Kelly Price, who had just, done her gospel album.
Yes. Sheila
E. Yolanda Adams, who she calls the Jackie Onassis of gospel music.
The Jackie Onassis of this nation and gospel music.
Which I love.
It's my favorite.
Love it. Martha Munizzi.
Why you gonna take your turn when it ain't your turn in the Spirit? Come on, somebody. It may be your turn in the program, but it ain't your turn in the Spirit. And that's why we call it Sisters in the Spirit, not sisters on the program.
And Risen.
And I want to backtrack because I am not clear about if Piece of My Passion was before or during.
Piece of My Passion came out in 2006. Yeah.
And I feel like Sisters in the Spirit was somewhere in that time frame.
So it was probably
either before or just
during,
leading up to it.
yeah.
Yeah. So they did this tour, but like I've been told that there was like a lot of tension, that some of the gospel artists were like a little miffed that Sheila E. was participating because not saved enough.
But they were okay with Kelly Price?
Well, there's always, we all have contradictions. We all have contradictions.
All right.
But I've also been told that like there was tension with Juanita and some of the artists, and we would love to know if that's true. So anyone that worked that tour or was on that tour, we'd love to know.
So yeah, Piece of My Passion. That's when we got I Don't Mind Waiting. Love it. Also love that. So let's see. After Piece of My Passion, we get Gospel Goes Classical. Her and Jonathan Butler.
Yep.
Which I enjoyed. I actually did enjoy that, just the concept period of gospel music and the full orchestra symphony.
Concept, not the songs.
Yeah, didn't
One
need the
night.
song. Well, yeah, and then we got One Night with the King. The whole movie
Covered by Aretha.
I didn't need any of that. And then she signs with Music World. She signs with Matthew Knowles.
Yep.
Which, again, a move that you would have thought would be positioning her kind of further into the world.
Kept hoping.
Yeah. And, ultimately the Twilight years in terms of her, huge influence.
Well, I have to also juxtapose her with Iyanla Vanzant in a way, because I feel like had Juanita been willing to evolve her theology... she could have had that kind of impact.
She could have been on Oprah, like a Jakes.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, maybe, but I also do just think a lot of it was just personality stuff, and it just seems like she would be a difficult person.
Yeah.
As evidenced by the rumors of the Sisters in the Spirit tour.
Yes. Yeah. And lawsuits. I mean, there was also a lawsuit following the Sisters in the Spirit tour from the promoter, and those kinds of things have happened.
Yeah.
And so I think, there's other things happening, but ideally is my main point, is that ideally she could have parlayed that into another space.
Yeah. That could have...
Potential is there.
Yeah, that could have given her something to land on differently when, so the parking lot assault. Do you know the details of that? Should I pull that up?
Pull that up, because I don't know all the details.
Okay, so this is Essence. This would have been 2007. At this point, they were estranged. Mm-hmm. And was that common knowledge? No. Yeah. Okay.
He disappeared. Like, people were noticing he wasn't on TBN anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But no.
Early Wednesday morning, Bynum was allegedly assaulted by Weeks in an Atlanta parking lot. According to the police, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution reports that the estranged couple met at the Renaissance Concourse Hotel to discuss a possible reconciliation, but the talk turned violent when Weeks allegedly attacked Bynum. Weeks left, leaving bruising around her neck and upper torso, according to the Atlanta Police Department. A hotel bellman who witnessed the alleged assault in the parking lot physically pulled Weeks away from his wife.
Wow.
It's reported that he left the scene of the attack before the police arrived. He was charged with 1 count of aggravated assault and 1 count of terrorist threats against Bynum. So after that, not long after that, the divorce filing.
Yeah, it was pretty quick.
Yeah.
I love you, but I love me more.
Did she say that?
Yes.
And, a more sad testimony. And again, you have to think, and I do believe that all of this was true, but at the same time, I think she got so used to sharing these things on that pulpit that it just didn't land this time in a way that was good. She talked about contemplating suicide.
She did.
She appeared on the divorce court.
She did.
And that wasn't her, and him.
No, it was as a
consultant.
Yeah.
To another couple or to couples. That's when she said that I am the new face of domestic violence.
The other piece is it is naive for Juanita to have believed that was a male-dominated evangelical world in which she had spent most of her time lambasting women, that she would be treated like a man. You're not going to get the same pass. You have passed judgment on women your entire ministry, and they're going to give you that same judgment. And they did.
Yeah.
What I had really hoped was that when all of it fell apart, I thought maybe now she'll become a personality. Maybe now she'll roll it out and be a personality out in the world and, walk away. She has nothing, compared to what she'd had, really wasn't the same thing. And so why not roll it into something different? Since she clearly wanted to be a celebrity.
Yeah.
And she did not. Instead, she put her robes back on and kept the hair, but put the robes back on and started doing, smaller churches again. And so there's a video on YouTube of her at Jamal Bryant's church, and there was this projection of Jesus on the wall, and she's incoherent and babbling in the, on the platform. And I think she just lays out, if I'm not mistaken. And it becomes this new chapter. And that becomes the thing she starts. It becomes outlandish again.
Yeah.
The outlandish spirituality.
Yeah.
And, then we have, there was it was a lawsuit, but she ultimately refused to appear at a church that booked her because the minister came in and apparently
saw her panties. Not her in her panties, just saw them laid out on the hotel bed or couch or something.
Which is odd. It's just odd, period, that he would come in there. I've never experienced,
someone walk into your hotel room
especially because I would assume she would have been in a suite.
Yeah.
So you would have to go out of your way to get to the bedroom.
Yeah. So she said, can't do it. It, was inappropriate. Can't do the thing. And
yeah.
So, it was a whole controversy. She appeared at the Vision Church?
She appeared at the Vision Church. I believe that was 2008 at an ordination service. And so she had this whole run of press because she'd appeared at a gay church and spoke positively of the leadership and talked about how they'd helped her when times were hard in her ministry over that last year. But we have not gotten anything from her since.
No.
And so just more of the same shaming,
misogyny,
misogynistic sexuality rhetoric, which again disappoints me.
Yeah.
Because I don't, the thing that I feel like is that most of these people, these evangelists believe one thing behind closed doors and don't ever say anything publicly.
Yeah.
And I do believe that Juanita is one of those people. I do believe that. I don't know how she just doesn't have a bunch of good Judys in her life.
At the very least, doing her hair and makeup, clearly.
And so it's disappointing to me that she's just silent. And that she's really not doing anything to innovate theological thought with her audience. No. And it disappoints me. It's just, we've watched some of her live streams recently, and it's just more of the same.
Yeah. And, she had tried, it sounds like, having her own church for a little bit. The warehouse church.
Warehouse. I called it the basement.
Yeah. The warehouse church. It, I don't know how long that lasted, how many years that was, but clearly her thing is, doing the conferences, doing the appearances, doing the TV, trying to, figure out how to create her own TV. And that's what she's, seems to be doing today with the live streams and all of that on social media. She's selling prayer kits again. Yes, the infamous shofar video of her blowing into the shofar incorrectly. You can
and falling out.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can look that up. We will not be linking to that. In 2012 is when we got the "I've been with women"
right
revelation, and so. Yeah, she said, I've done it all. I did the drugs. I've been with men. I've been with women. It's not a line. It's my life. I took responsibility. There's that whole responsibility thing again in every area, because every choice that I made, nobody put a gun to my head. These were my choices, and I made these choices due to a lack of wisdom. I'm not embarrassed about my conversions, and that's why I'm not insecure about being around people who have issues and struggles.
What about people who don't have struggles with those things?
Yeah.
It makes me sad.
Yeah.
Because I want to really drive this point home, because I don't want it to sound like I'm just making fun of her. I really like her.
Yeah.
And
you are my peace. But that was like a foundational song, like growing up. I heard it on the radio all the time growing up.
Listen, I was that person getting up for a period at 5 a.m. and playing that and having my time with God. Yeah. And I liked her. But I did that because I liked what she was doing.
Yeah.
And I didn't like all of her teachings.
Yeah.
But I did see that piece of her that I think is still there underneath it all. That is authentic, and the piece of her that actually is freer than she lets on.
Yeah.
And like so many people that, I have witnessed in that world over and over, they live more in bondage to the opinions of people than to the bondage of a theology.
Yeah.
And again, it's one of those things I think that gets completely conflated and never taken apart. And so they live a particular kind of way publicly, believing they're doing it for God, because God becomes synonymous with the approval of people. And so I really, she's still young. She's still, we just saw her have her, I think, 60-something birthday party.
Yeah.
That's young. That's young. And so I keep hoping she's going to pull through and surprise me with some liberation at some point.
Yeah. What would that look like? What would Juanita Bynum as an outlaw look like? I mean, definitely real healing from whatever all of this past church trauma, sexual trauma has been for her. She talks about being in an institution. Did she actually receive real therapy?
Happened?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Is she currently in any kind of therapy?
Does she have a diagnosis?
Yeah.
I mean, those are the things. I mean, when people, like, I go back to that first person who said, oh, child, Juanita Bynum, just out of her mind. What was her actual diagnosis?
Yeah.
Like, did she have one?
Yeah.
Is
Because
she
it's not about dismissing. It's
no.
about, yeah.
Does she struggle with mental illness? And how does she cope with that?
Yeah.
And beyond prayer.
Yes.
And so, you know, these are all the things I think about with her because I think she's such a compelling and powerful figure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I really never wrote her off on that level because I still know that part of her that always transcended whatever all the other crap was. Bad theology, she still had the Holy Ghost in the way that we, you know, I still think that's humanism. She still had that thing that related to people, that she could connect with people and raise them.
Yes.
I mean, I dare you to not watch The Refiner's Fire and not witness it.
Yeah.
You see it, you feel it.
Yeah.
And
And
so
her connection to the music, again,
Yes.
like to bring it back to when she had Tremaine on TBN.
That was great.
I'm ready for
That's
Tremaine.
well, and yeah, and she saw Tremaine. I mean,
Yes.
she saw
Really,
Tremaine
truly.
in that video, and really, I quoted her in my article
Yeah.
on Tremaine because
Yeah.
I thought she so summarized Tremaine's gift because it's very similar. I mean, Juanita don't sound, she can't sing like Tremaine,
Yeah.
but that gift of raising people is the same gift.
Yeah.
It is the same gift because underneath Tremaine's voice is that same thing.
Yeah.
And again, that's empathy. I really believe that's empathy. That is transparency. That's my, you know, my Pentecostal humanist ethic.
Yeah.
It ain't the Holy Ghost, honey.
Yeah.
We can call it that. That's fine, but that's not what it is. It is about our connection to each other. And Juanita has that.
Yeah. And I think outlaw Juanita Bynum could look like, would be the Juanita Bynum without the platform. Figuring
Yes.
out what her giftings are without the need. And it's why I can't do the titles. It's why I can't do the prophetess and the doctor and the multiple doctorates, questionable doctorate. No, like, you know, who is Juanita Bynum?
Without all the appendages.
Without all of the hair or not hair or robes or
kerchiefs.
Yeah, like what is she and how can she do her ministry that isn't her on a platform?
Yeah.
That isn't her hating women.
I would love, Juanita as an outlaw to me would be her being willing to somehow take stock of what her 40-year ministry has been.
Yeah.
And saying I was wrong
Yeah.
about many things.
Yeah.
Because that's, to me, if you're bold enough to get up and share all that you shared in No More Sheets, that with some retrospect, you should be able to get up and acknowledge some of your missteps in what you've shared with people.
Yeah.
And that, to me, would make her the ultimate outlaw, to be able to say, like some of my other heroes have done, you know, from other worlds, Sam Phillips in particular, say, I decry it.
Yeah.
I decry it.
Yeah. And it would be a Juanita without the stocks, without the CDs, without
not
the bonds.
capitalist?
Yes, absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
Good luck.
It would be Juanita without the houses and
The horse, the pony.
without needing to buy herself the rings and the jewelry. Absolutely. Oh no, we're taking all that away too. Yeah.
I still, like I said, I do.
What did she say? Ain't nothing but a thing.
Ain't nothing but a thing.
Good. Well, you can get rid of it.
I still have hope for her. I really do have hope for her. And maybe by some whim, she's listening to this and she can hear the heart of what we're saying. Is I would really love for just a revolutionary Juanita to emerge for an incredible third chapter.
Yeah. Charisma without dogma.
Yeah.
And knowing how to connect and empathize in that way, speak to people's realities in a way that isn't about bottling and packaging and selling shame.
Questioning this Bible she's clung to.
That she barely references when it comes to the actual sermons. Yeah.
But being willing to say, like, maybe we've understood it wrong, or maybe it's not all here. Maybe we're actually living epistles, still figuring it out.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I would love for her. That's outlaw Juanita to me.
All right. Well, I think we've said it all. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Tim Dillinger. You can find me on Substack, godsmusicIsmylife.substack.com.
And you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Ray Curenton, RayCurenton. Subscribe to the show, share, comment. I'm sure this is going to be a super controversial episode, so sure, we want to hear from you. Let us know. Let us know what we got wrong, what we got right, what you think. Until next time.
Till next time.